Yo, what's up Avery Profab? It's Archie Daniels here, aka Mr. Corn Reaper, and today we're going to be discussing all things Starfield. So we'll be discussing factions today, and then on other videos we'll cover other topics like space combat, combat in general with guns, planets, planet exploration, bases, all those sort of things. So we'll be doing that in other videos because these topics, they're so massive and there's a lot to cover, and we just don't have time to cover each of those things all in one video, because as I say, it'd be too long, and we don't expect you to stay around for hours to hear. Today we are going to be discussing factions. Now the thing is, guys, I have got the names up on my screen today. Just because there's so many factions, it's hard to remember every single one. And also just to make sure that I give you the right information. But I'll also be giving you my own personal views about these factions and what role I think they're going to play in the world in general. So first of all, we're going to cover United Colonies, okay? So basically what this is stating is it is a space republic, and it has the largest military presence in the settled systems and sees itself as an ideal government and political force of the future. So basically the United Colonies comes across as like a space force, like the police, in space sort of thing. And basically they are there to keep the peace, and they are there to, obviously they are run by the government like we have on planet Earth. We have police and military. These people are like the police in space, and they are run by the government. Okay, the UC's capital city is New Atlantis on the planet of Jameson in the Alpha Centauri system, but it also oversees many colonies across the settled systems. Now, guys, as I say, they're going to be covering the capital city. We are aware of that. That's probably going to be that's where everything is run. You know what I mean? And obviously we've seen some video of Jameson, so we know what Jameson's going to look like and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting because, as I say, with all these factions and with all this, the question is, how much are we going to be able to interact with these? Because, as I say, games can go on for about 40+ hours, but with the 9 factions we're going to cover, that is a lot of factions, to put into 40 hours, so does that say that maybe we're not going to get as much time as what we want with these factions potentially? The United Colonies is the biggest force, but it's not the only major governing body in Starfield. So that basically means that there's going to be it looks like there's another military force that isn't just the United Colonies. Just 20 years before the events of the main story, the United Colonies was at war with the Freestyle Collective in a conflict that's known as the Colony War. The two massive groups are now at peace, but will it last? So basically, the Freestyle Collective sounds like, if it's still going, it sounds like they are also a major force in the game and a major faction. Do they run the same as the space? Are they like professional police? That are run by the government? I don't know, but it sounds like those two are like the biggest factions because they went to war only 20 years before the main story. So the question is, are they gonna stay? Are they going to stay friends in the story, or are things going to heat up? That's the question. It'll be very interesting to see. Okay, so next one, guys. Freestyle Collective. The other major force in the settled systems is the Freestyle Collective. This confederation of the 3-star systems is united by their belief in a sanctity of personal freedom and individuality. Okay, so these guys are about freedom, So maybe the United Colonies are kind of like, they're all about law and order. Maybe they are there as an authoritative presence, but the Freestyle Collective is all about freedom and about individuality, and everybody matters and that sort of thing. And maybe that's why You know, like what's going on, and it's kind of like what's going on in the real world right now. You know, you've got freedom, democracy going up against authoritarian dictatorship regimes. You know, and I kind of think that that's what's happened here. Like, you know, the Freestyle Collective was kind of fighting for freedom and individuality. But I don't know who won this war, but maybe they didn't win. Maybe they both didn't win, and maybe, you know, they came to some sort of an agreement that they would stick to their end of the galaxy and the others would stick to their end of the galaxy. Potentially, that's what's happened. Its capital, Alkali City. Alkali, I think it's Alkali City, yeah. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. I hope it is anyway.
The Freestyle Collective are a loose confederation of 3 distinct star systems within our galaxy. Their capital, Aquila City, was founded in 2167, just 6 years after New Atlantis was established, which is now capital to the United Colonies.
So basically, these guys run from Alkali City, and they are there to protect their city from alien-like creatures called the Ashtar. I don't know much about the Ashtar. I don't even think we were shown the Ashtar necessarily in the videos, nor their big showcase earlier last month. Yeah, I don't know. But apparently that's what they're there defending against. We don't know much about the Freestyle Collective's past, other than its war with the United Colonies. But we do know that Alkali City was founded in 2167 by someone called Solomon Coe. That's 163 years before the events of the main story. So it sounds like Freestyle Collective has been going for a very, very long time. I'm really intrigued if Earth is actually going to play any part in this world, you know, in this universe, because think about it, guys, you know, like 2167, I know it seems like a really, really long way away, but that's like only 130 years away, something like that. It's like not a long time, you know, when you think about it. I mean, it's very, 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 very feasible that many people who are born in 2060 could easily live till then, you know what I mean? People do live until 100. So question is, does Earth play a major role in this? You know, does it say, is Earth mentioned at all, you know, and potentially, you know, was the Freestyle Collective started on Earth? That's another question that hasn't been answered, you know. But I mean, it'd be interesting to see if Earth plays any role in this, or if even Earth exists in this universe. This faction has a very Cowboys in space vibe, with even the defenders of their capital being called the Freestyle Rangers. Okay, so I think we did actually see these in a trailer, because I remember seeing like cowboy-like people in a trailer. Potentially they are the Freestyle Collective. But yeah, these guys actually sound really interesting, and it'd be really, really good to actually see more about these guys before launch, because the game's obviously launching in September, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see a bit more about them. But God, it's only like 8 weeks away, guys. It's crazy. Okay, the Crimson Fleet is a nebulous faction. Okay, so these guys are like space pirates. Now, I've read a bit about these guys, and you know, it does sound fun, you know, being like a Jack Sparrow in space. You know, it is fun. And we do know that we can exit our spaceship in space and obviously go on to other spaceships and take those spaceships and own them. We do know we can do that, but the question is, like, to what extent can we become a pirate, you know, because it's all good taking ships and all, but can we like break into bases, you know, and take stuff from there, you know, and represent the Crimson Fleet? Or are we, or you know, is there only like missions that we're gonna do with these guys, you know? Because I'd love to be a part of it, like a group, you know, whether or not it was the Freestyle Collective, the Crimson Fleet, you know, etc. So I'd love to be in a group, you know. I think it'd be awesome. But if they're only, you know, if we're only a part of that group for a set of missions, and then that's it, we can no longer cooperate with them, that's going to be a real downer for this game, I think. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see that, I think. But these Crimson guys seem like they're quite vicious. nebulous faction of space pirates that maraud the inky black abyss in search of loot. Yeah, so these guys are all interested. All they're interested in is, you know, loot to get money, basically. The current, whatever the currency is in space. Unlike the raiders of the Fallout series, you can actually join the Crimson Fleet and complete missions for its leadership. Oh, so you can actually lead these guys, it sounds like. Wow, that's going to be really interesting. Oh my god. I know, and I'm kind of contradicting what I said before, aren't I, guys? I didn't read down as much, but apparently you can actually complete missions and go for leadership. That's going to be really interesting, like leading a faction. The Crimson Fleet's members can be identified by their reddish armor, Jolly Roger-like flag, and skull-shaped faced masks. So, you know, they are bringing some, like, you know, typical pirate looks into the game. You know, that we have on Earth, and they're just like upgrading it for like spacey pirate-y looks, you know. The pirates of the Crimson Fleet have extended far beyond the Crix system. Again, guys, that is a system, but I have not read anything about that system. But I'd say we'll do a video discussing these, you know, discussing systems and planets later on, and I'll also leave a link to in the description to the website I am using to look at this information, so you guys can read it for yourself. Their stronghold, the Key, and has established footholds in the Sajan, Shani, Lunara, and Narian systems. We first encountered this faction during a Starfield trailer on the moon of Crete. I remember that, guys. Yes, I remember, because we landed on a planet. It was like a very grey looking planet, and we went down, and obviously we went into this like base, didn't we? And then we had to fight some people. Potentially, the people we were fighting were actually space pirates. As part of a combat encounter, interestingly, you can join the Crimson Fleet and betray them rather than simply progressing its cause. Although this group promises death to anyone who wishes to leave it. So basically, guys, if you decide, you know what, the Crimson Fleet isn't for me anymore, that's going to be a problem. Because basically, right, if you leave, they're not going to be happy, to say the least. And it sounds like they might put a bounty on you, or, you know, they might come after you themselves and kill you. The Rising Industries. Now, these guys I haven't heard of at all. But let's read what they're about. Not much is currently known about the Rising Industries, apart from the fact that this mega corporation has a lot of power in Neon, one of the more mysterious Starfield cities. We do know that the player can choose to join Rising Industries by applying for a job there. Will Shenley, quest designer for Starfield, thinks that this faction has one of the best starts of any of the factions. Apply for a job and we'll see if you cut the mustard. That's really interesting. Now, I don't know what these guys do, you know, like, we know what the others are about, kind of, but I don't know what the Rising Industries are about. But assuming that they are like a legal faction, it sounds like it's a bit like, you know, you go for a job, you have to do certain things, and if you do well, you can join them. But it's not really much I can say about them, because not much has been said. But it sounds interesting, you know, going for like an interview or whatever in the game. I mean, that's fascinating. The Exano Fresh Corporation, ooh, here we go, is responsible for the transformation of Neon City from a fishing outpost to a Vegas-like pleasure city. Exeno Fresh discovered that the fish it was catching had psychotropic qualities and started manufacturing and selling a drug made from this substance. The resulting illegal substance was called Aurora, and I can never say that bloody word, guys. Subsequently, you know what I'm trying to say, banned from everywhere but Neon. Interested in sampling and distributing Aurora. So basically, these guys are like drug dealers, it's sounding like. Yeah, I mean, you can join them, obviously, like the others, I'm assuming. It doesn't say that on here, but I'm assuming if you can join the others, you can join these guys. and apparently you basically catch fish that have a substance in them that is illegal called Aurora, and you sell that substance to whoever offers money. That's really interesting. To what extent this is going to play in the story, I don't know, because I can imagine the others would play a bigger story because they are combat focused. But these guys are just your space drug dealers. That's what's coming across as. So it'll be interesting. I personally don't find that interesting. Like I think it's good that they got it in the game, but personally, I won't join that corporation because it just doesn't seem interesting. I like getting out in adventures, and combat and all that sort of stuff. So but for some that might be interesting, I guess. Ecliptic Mercenaries. I haven't heard of these before. Let's see what this says. The Ecliptic Mercenaries appear to be a group of heavily armoured thugs and could well serve as an obstacle to the player or a private military company for a number of major factions. From what we saw during the Starfield Direct showcase, the Ecliptic Mercenaries could be related to the Great Serpent Faith, but what they want is a mystery. So there's not really a lot about these guys. They are a private military force, so unlike the Freestyle Collective or whatever, they are run by the governments. These guys aren't. These are privately owned by rich ass people in space, and yeah, I guess they go out doing certain things for certain people. That would be something I'd potentially be interested in joining, to be honest, but I'd probably want to know more about them before I made any decisions on what faction I was going to, stay with. Because as well, guys, like, once you made that decision, I don't think you should leave your faction, because, it's about, respect, and it's about loyalty. I know it's a game, but still, you got to be loyal to the people you've chosen, you get what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't know, be interesting. I'll have to read more about them before I make a decision, but the fact that they're a private military company sounds quite intriguing. Okay, the Violet Spacers. The Spacers appear to be a minor faction of human outcasts seen during the Starfield Direct showcase gameplay. The Spacers were hostile on sight and relatively low level. Other than that, little is known about this faction, so just sounds like these, your basic thugs, really. Violet Spacers. They're around. If you see them, they're gonna come and attack you. It sounds like, but they are like low level, so they should be quite easy to deal with. But they are also not a main faction. These are kind of like a secondary faction. So I don't know if you'll be able to like do a full join of these factions or whether or not it's just the main factions you can join. The House Varun. Nothing is known about this group of human enemies apart from the fact that this group is a religious zealots. So these guys are religious. Question is like how religious, and does that like have a certain threat? Because obviously religions do play a threat in humanity in general. That's just how it is. People have different beliefs, and when people go against those beliefs, sometimes people aren't happy about that. So are these guys going to be a problem for people who don't agree with them? Potentially. But yeah, it says here, however, we can infer a few things about them from their name and what was shown during the June 2023 Starfield showcase. So be sure to check out our full House of a Run guide. Guys, we might do, we might talk about certain factions more later on, in other videos, because as I say, there's not a lot about them. We haven't really covered them, have we? So when there's more about them, we'll cover them more. Okay, Sanctum Universum is a small religious group. Oh god, these are religious as well. You can join by picking the raised universal trait during character creation. Remember though, relationships with certain Starfield religions locks you out of opposed NPC interactions. Okay. So you can have, obviously, I don't know the extent of these relationships you can have and what they mean by relationships. Do they mean like loving relationships, or do they mean like just business relationships? I don't know. But it says it locks me out of opposed NPC interaction. So basically, people who oppose that religion, you won't be able to interact with. So you gotta be, you gotta make sure you made the right decision who you're interacting with, because you just don't know how that's gonna affect the story moving forward. But again, this just comes across like a minor faction, nothing really massive, The Enlightened is a small religious group you can join by picking the raised enlightened trait during character creation. Okay, so these are all these like lower levels. They are like, they're all religious. Yeah, that's how it's coming across. So I think when it comes to the lower factions, I think you just got to be sure who you're picking, and just make sure that you're picking the right group that you support religiously, in the game or whatever. But like the major groups, they're going to be the ones that you're going to kind of want to like take more time to choose, because like once you've joined one, I don't know how easy it's going to be to just leave one without there being consequences and join another. Because imagine if you join a group, right, a faction, that faction's gone up against another faction in the past, that you've been a part of that activity, and then basically, you've months later decided to leave that faction and go to the faction that faction was fighting. Are you going to be able to just go over to that faction? Are they going to have a problem with that because you were fighting them only a few months ago, or are they just going to let you in? That's the question. And also, is are the team that you lead, the faction that you leave, are they going to have a problem with you just leaving like that? I know with the space pirates, not necessarily, but with others, they might be a bit more reasonable. Who knows? Okay, guys, that is it for this. Basically, this is from Starfield DB.com. So you can search that up, and there should also be, I will ask my editor to put the link in the video description, so you can click on it and you can read this for yourself. But yeah, that's really interesting. Personally, I'm kind of like interested in the Ecliptic Mercenaries. They sound really intriguing, but I'm also a fan of the Freestyle Collective and the Crimson Fleet. The Rysian Industries and the Xenofresh Corporation, not really my type. And to be honest with you, nor are the United Colonies, because they come across an authoritarian regime, and I'm not about that. So yeah, Freestyle Collective, Crimson Fleet, or the Ecliptic Mercenaries will probably be the ones that I'm looking at joining. But yeah, guys, leave a message in the comments about which faction you think you're going to go with, and how you think the game is going to be overall. I'm really looking forward to Starfield, but I'm not going to be too hyped for it, because I'm not going to go through another cyberpunk situation where it's overhyped, you're excited for it, and then it's a big letdown. So I'm keeping my expectations to a certain level, but I just hope that the game like kind of goes over those expectations, because they're bringing this on as the true next gen experience for Xbox, So hopefully it's a good game. So I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, we'll see what the finished product looks like in less than 8 weeks. God, it's crazy, isn't it? I think it's the 6th of September it releases, so not long. But yeah, we'll be doing another video on this, guys, covering combat, and we'll also do, if we can fit one more in, we'll do also the galaxy and the planets we can explore, and what kind of role they play. But as I say, I kind of want to get some other videos down as well with other games, so we'll just see how much time we've got until release. But once this game's released, guys, I will be doing a review of video, just telling you what I think overall of the game, and if I think it's worth you guys paying for it, because obviously, things are tight at the moment around the world. People are having to choose between, some people have to choose between heating their home and eating. So it's not good. So I can't imagine that game's going to be the first thing on their mind. But obviously, if this game is worth it, I will tell you it's a good game. You should definitely get it. And if it's not, I'll say it's not a good game. It was over talked about. It was overhyped, and it's nothing really interesting. But it's Bethesda, so You know, I got some expectations, but we'll see. But these groups, guys, these factions sound really interesting, and I cannot wait to see what they have to offer because, yeah, they sound really cool. Especially the Cliptic Mercenaries, as I say, that's one that I'll be keeping my eye on because it's the one that's been talked about not very much, and yet it's the one that sounds the most interesting. So are they keeping that as a surprise potentially? Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back. I'm back now to Kick full time. I did take a week off. Back to Kick in the mornings and on some evenings, mostly Monday. Friday and Saturday I do evenings as well as mornings, and then on the other days I just do mornings. But yeah, just follow me on Kick so you can see me doing some games, and you'll be notified then every time I go live, which would be good. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.